background noise is coming. Let me check. Bahubali. Bahubali. Yes, Bahubali movies running. Just give me a minute. No, my family is watching them. I'm here. Okay. Okay, now it should be fine. Now the volume should not come. Okay. Let's wait for a few more minutes. Oh, yes, Nilanjan, please ask your doubt. Your troubles in programming are coming from the fact that, especially in web development, is coming from the fact that we are coding on Windows. So those of you who are facing troubles, what is exports come from and how? What is this? Exports is basically what you want to export from this file. So basically what happens is that you need a mechanism to communicate between different parts of your app. For example, what is exports coming from and what are we doing with it? So every file has an export functionality. Sir, I use body parts instead of inverb. Yeah, that should work perfectly fine. So can we write it as a function and then we can do module.export? That is also fine. That should be fine. Instead of module.exports. Oh, yeah. This is language specific thing. Like this is framework specific. I'm not sure why it is coming from, but functionality from this. Yeah, I have. Yes, Aradhya, you are proud. So this is coming from the fact that you are exporting sign up. That's all you need to understand. You can also write it as expose. Is expose come from module dot? Yeah, that is exactly correct. It is similar to module dot exports. Why we create post response? What is post response? What is post response? Where did you create it? In controllers. Oh, response dot post. Okay. So basically, what happens is whenever somebody sends you a request, uh, yeah, it is whenever somebody sends you a request, you have to respond with something. For example, if I send you HTTP request, I want a response from you, and this post response is basically doing the same. It is calling a function. Response is like a callback function for you, and this callback function sends whatever you are asking it back to the caller. Okay, Aradhya? So if I open this, just give me 1 second. In this, I have something called as response.status inside. Post response is whatever you are responding in the post. Okay. Yeah. Can we respond user created? You can respond that. That is okay. That is fine. You can respond that user has been created successfully. But sometimes you also want to respond this for the person who is. Sometimes you also want to respond with this detail so that the person who is sending you can use these values. Typically, an API would be calling it. It will the front end would be calling this function. So you want to use you want to send all this data. Okay, Aradhya? Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Now clear. Very good. If you just give me 1 second, I'll be back. I have to bring mouse for me.
क्या होता ना भारी से दिया इसमें हेलो
Sorry for the delay. I just wanted to get a mouse from the desktop, and now we are good. Okay, students, that's uh, so if I just click on, so maybe I can increase this. Okay, this is good. I can zoom everything. Uh, so what do we have for today? Today we have um, Today we want to get into JWT authentication. But before getting into JWT authentication, we want to get started with something called as we want to do away with the sign in process. You remember last time we talked about sign up, and this time we just want to talk about sign in. How do you do sign in? It's very similar to sign up, and I'll walk you through the whole process. And once sign up and sign in is done, we'll do JWT based token authentication. And then in the next class, we'll start talking about ticket manipulation, etc. Okay. So user activity, ticket manipulation, all those things will come soon. So before getting started, I'll just start sharing. Just give me 1 second. Let me open another. Sir, one doubt. What's the difference between request user type and request body user type? Request user type will be nothing, but request body user type will be something which is contained inside the body of the request. Okay. Uh, yeah. Yeah. There is something also as request header. The request header and header can also contain some things, and body will contain something in the request. The request body user type is basically containing whatever we send in the body of the request. So a request typically has a header and a body, and you can use either one of them to to write things. Typically, body is the larger part of the request. Header is a smaller meta part of it. Request user type will come undefined if we don't. Yeah. Yes. Request header will be used for header. Yes, request header will be used for header. That is true, Lakit. Yeah. When we talk about JWT tokens, we'll talk about how request header can be used for that. Let me see more questions. Sir, we have how to take input from body. How should we take inputs from params in post request, post response? How should we take inputs from parameters in post response or request? Do you mean in postman? Yeah. So that I'll show you. Yeah, there are different ways. Let me show you the screen. Is it necessary to pass request and response? Can you pass such as RNS? That should work. RNS should work. Yeah. Params is how you can get that. Thank you, Likit. And so postman. So a request contains all these parts. I'm just going to do one request. There will be params, authorization, header, body. You can do request.params, request.authorization, request.header, request.body. All this you can do. Okay. So yeah, all these things are available to you. Sir, zoom out a bit. Zoom out a bit. Just give me a moment. I'll not. Zooming out will be a little difficult. This level is good for me. I'm able to see everything. I'll zoom out in the application. So if I just reduce this and do control minus minus minus, and I'll move it here. And just reduce this. Otherwise, is okay. Simple request user, what will gives are undefined. There is no such property as request body engine. We have to manually add it to the request object by some middleware. What is the difference between params and query? Query is what you write here. Params is another another thing that you've signed in the parameters. Sometimes the query can contain some parameters, but yeah, it is a bit. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah. Filter. Let me see what is the other question. Filter. Filter is like what? So suppose I'll discuss this when I'll discuss users. What happens in queries is when you send a query for all users, you can specify specific users also. This is part of the REST API that we were talking about. So when you have a get function and there's one thing sent to you, then you can decide what all part of that one thing you want. There is a difference between these two types of queries. One query is, suppose I am getting localhost colon 3000, and then I'm getting users. That is one query. But the other query is you can have user ID. That is going to give only the user from that user ID. When do we need to use params from requests for request instead of body? Whenever we just want to call a different API. This API is different from this API. Localhost 3000 users. This API is different from this. This is going to give you only a particular user with a given user ID. This is going to give you all the users that are there in the system. Does that make sense, Anand? Anand? Yeah. So that's there. Let's see what else is remaining in this. I'll share. Filter non-part. Filter is when we'll come to it, I'll explain it, Vivek. What is happening is you can decide what kind of queries you want to run on your data. Do you want to get all the users, or do you want to get just the user ID from it? So you can send it in your parameters. Parameters are exactly what it's. These are basically deciding the API. Sir, what exactly JNT content? How it works? JWT is Java Web Token. Just give me 1 second. Uh, just give me 1 second. Open folder. Yeah, JSON Web. No, yeah, JSON Web Token. Sorry, not Java. I was thinking about something else. And what it does is so when you sign, you need a way to remember that you have signed in. And for that, what you do is when you sign in, you need a way to remember that you have signed in. And to do that, what you have is the JSON Wave Token, which is going to tell you uh, what all. It will be a string that gives you once you have signed in. It is a proof that you have signed in. That is what JWT is. So let me show it to you with a whiteboard, and then it will become more clear. Okay. So suppose you are signing into a new system. So the first step would be to sign up. Is it? Yeah, it contains user info. Yeah, it has 3 parts and it does contain user info. Okay. So first step would be to sign up. Sign up will create a user ID and it will create a password. You send this user ID and password and you will get the confirmation that your user have been created. Then what you do? You do sign in. In sign in, which we are going to discuss just now, you send this user ID and password. And what you get, if the password is correct, you get a JWT token. Now, it says that this token will be active for 2 minutes. For next 2 minutes, you can use this token to work with the system. So next time you send a request, you send this token along with that request, which authenticates that you have been signed up to the system, and then you can work with it. Now what happens is after 2 minutes you will get another will be generated at the time of it will be generated at the time of sign in. It will not be generated at the time of sign up. So it will contain few parts. It will contain user ID, it will contain time, and it will contain some other things. What does JWT token do? JWT token does this what I'm explaining, Vivek. It gives you a way of identifying yourself. Think of it like this. Have you seen those company ID cards that people give in their companies? When you join a company, you will get a ID card. You get the ID card once you have come to the office and signed up. Now this ID card, as long as you are hanging it on your neck, the guard will not ask you questions. Who are you? Why do you want to enter to the building? Okay. And this ID card will have expiry time. Maybe 6 months it will expire. Okay. This definition of expiry time will be hard coded in the code. You can define like most of my token will be 2 minutes long. So you can define that directly current. Okay. Now, as long as you have this ID card with you, you can freely come inside the building and come outside the building. Okay, and whatever you do, you have to just hold this iCard with yourself. Similarly, when you are dealing with a server, you need a way to access the server and come out of the server, get responses from the server. And for that, there is something called as JWT token. You get this token when you sign in for the system. Once you sign in, you get a token, and as long as you're sending your request with that token, you are going to get the access to the server. How the API checks that authentication every time when we send API to fulfill a request? There is a token. There will be a JWT. What is it called? Validator. There will be a validator which is going to check. The JWT token. Okay. JWT verify. Yes, there will be a verification or validator, middle layer between your controller and the view. Okay. We are going to discuss that when we discuss JWT token in more detail. So how will it check every time? It will check. It will. So there is a way to decode. There will be few things written in the JWT token. First is the user ID. Okay. There is a function that you need to call to check. There will be a user ID, and there will be a secret key that you have. Now I have discussed that secret key. So you will have secret key like Anshul Yadav's key, and then there will be a hashing that will happen on these two. And combining this hashing, you can unhash the value and check whether the user ID is correct or not. For verification, we need to verify the middleware. Yes, you create the middleware. Yes, that is correct. Middleware sits between controller and the person who is calling the controller. Okay. Okay, Ankit. Vivek, did you get the concept of JWT token? Okay. So let's continue. So I'll work with the current module. First of all, I'll complete the sign up in this session, and then I'll start with JWT tokens. Okay, as JWT authentication. For this, let's go to the controller and write the sign up. Sign. Let me reduce this. Let's write down the sign in functionality. So just to do exports dot sign in async request. Uh, is the zoom level correct? Are you okay with the zoom level? Okay. So could you show the API is working? Show your API is working. Zoom more. Zoom it a bit. Okay, I'll zoom. Control plus. This is the maximum I can do. Okay. I'll show you how. So let me just write pass here. No. Let me comment this part out, and let me show you how that API is working, and then we'll work with some more things. Okay. I'll open Postman. First of all, I'll have to run this terminal. I'll have to do. CRM app. I'll have to go to 6.building cd 6 building. Yeah. Inside this, I'll have to there's a command node app.js. If I do this, My code should start running and I'm listening to localhost 3000. Now I go to Postman and I want to reduce its configuration a little. Okay. So in Postman, untitled request overview. Let's see. Do I have a old request? Okay. Anyways, I'll just come here and say localhost colon 3000. Let me check where am I calling it. So uh, close this. Let me go to app.js and sign up. This one is. Just give me a second.
का पढ़ी थी तो ड्रामा की जो खल है
Hello. Sorry for the disturbance. Okay, so I'll have to copy that part. Where was I? I was at this part and I wanted to copy API authentication sign up. I copied it and I'm going to paste it here. So this is my query. And in this, I'll have to have a body. And body, I'll just keep it as raw. And in this body, I'll have to send some things. What are the things that I need to send? Let me check. No, I'll check in. Just give me 1 second. Name, user ID, email, user type, and password. Yeah. You have to select JSON from the Dropbox. Yeah, sorry. Thanks for that. Yeah. Sure. Thank you. First, we need the name. So let me write the name as Anshul. Second thing we need is a user ID. Let's may have this as Anshul. We'll clear up our DB in few minutes. 009 and we'll have an email. Let that email be anand@gmail.com. And email is done. User type is there. User type. Let's have user type as engineer or maybe customer. And then there's password. I can have password, the same password I use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's all. User status we are not sending, so I'm not sending it. And this looks good. If I just go to the right and click on send, let me see what happened. I got this and cannot get sign up 3. What is the header? Oh, there is something in the header. Oh, sorry, post. Sorry, post should be the, that should be the correct one. I have to post it. And it got posted. And this is the created time and this is the updated time. Okay. And since it's a customer, it got approved also. So everything is working fine. That is Merry Christmas, everyone. Yes, okay. So we are good. Now let's sign in as this user. Let's build up the process for signing in as a user. And for that, I'll just again go to the I'll again go to this. And first of all, let me just create a router for this instead of calling this all the time from the app.json. I don't like calling my functions from app.json. I need proper routers for them. And yeah, so I'll create a new folder called as router, and it will contain all the routes that I want to take. So I'll create a folder and I'll call it as routes. Sorry, routes. Okay. And inside routes, I'll define a file called as auth.routes.js. Okay. And auth.routes.js is going to import few things. First of all, it will import const auth controller is equal to require require controllers export routes. Yeah, exports router. Express router. Yes, exactly. It will be an express router. Once we say app is the express, then we are using an express router. And then what we can do is auth controller. Controller. Once we get the controller is coming from this file, auth controller. It is a sign up controller, and etc. etc. What we can do is inside auth router. Let me introduce this. Inside auth router, you can have module dot exports function app. You have to send app as a whatever app was there. This app is a express app. Okay, this is an express app. Now what you can do is on this express app, you can call something called as app.post, and you can write that whatever was here. You can copy this part and put it relax and put it here. Okay. So now sign up will work as it is. But as you have as you might have seen before, you can have middleware inside a post call on your Express.js framework. So in Express you can have middle parts also. Okay. So here what I'm doing, module.exports a function, and here what all I need to do is require require dot routes / auth routes. Get the sign up button from auth routes and just send app to it. If you send app to it, it automatically creates a post. It automatically starts listening for the post request on the app. Okay? Does that make sense? Vivek, I've just taken the function from here. Can we use a variable? You can use a variable. Please repeat, sir. Okay, I'm going to repeat this part. So last time what I was doing is, yes. Last time what I was doing was, I was creating, okay, let me just do router. Router is equal to this, and then you can just do router app. I can just do auth router. Auth router. But auth router is safe. Okay. Share the GitHub repo. I've shared it before, but let me share it one more time. I'll just have to go here and CRM app, view in GitHub, and just copy this. Require this. Require is basically to import a module. When you're trying to import, you can use require. Okay. Yeah. Now what I want to do is, before doing anything else in the app CRM, in the CRM app, I want to create a new. So we cannot use import. Yeah, you cannot use import. I mean, the import is different way of doing it. Okay. In JS, in Node, you typically write require. Okay. Yeah. So now I'll create a new branch at this point. So let me just save these changes. Edit router. Commit to main and push origin. Okay. Now what I want to do is, first of all, I want to create a branch. Let me call this as new branch. Okay, so new branch will be session -1. On this branch, you will get all the data for session 1. Okay, you can publish this branch. And next, I want to do new branch as session 2. Session 2. And I'll just create this. Now all the changes that I'm going to do are going to happen on the second session branch. Okay. Yeah. I'm calling it, yeah. Can we use import? So we can use import. For that, we have to explicitly specify in the package that we want be using ES6 module instead of common JS module. Yeah. Those things I don't know. Thank you, Arnav. Yeah. Sir, yes, Vivek? Your question? You want to know how to go to a particular brand? What we updated in constructor folder? Not constructor folder. That is called as controller folder. We didn't update anything in controller folder. I added few comments. Yeah, I added few comments here for sign-in version. That's all. Most of the things that have happened is in the router file and in the app file. You can ignore this part. Okay, Vivek? Can you show sign-up code? Yeah, I can show that. Sign-up code is this one. We first checked if the user is engineer or admin. Then we made the status as pending. In line 12. What is request? Request.body. What is line number 12? Let me check. In line number 12. Oh, sorry. Why is this? This should be body actually. Yeah, that is correct. It should be body. I'm always. Thanks a lot for that, Likit. And where else I'm doing this? Request body. Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah, do that. And that's it. Thanks, Likit. Oh, okay. Yeah. I forgot about that part. You need to write request.body. Let me push these changes in the branch. Yeah, show this in. Now let's come back to what we were doing. So we created a route for sign up, and we are able to use the sign up mechanism. Everything is fine and life is good. Now let's create for sign in. Okay. So how is sign in going to work? Sign in is a very simple. Sign in is a very simple functionality. What you have is you need to find a user with a given user ID. So first of all, const user equal to await user dot find, and then what you need to do is you need to send user ID. Can we explain how you're done on Postman? Routes on Postman. Postman it remains the same. Postman is still the same. You just have to write this URL, and router will work on its own. Basically, the thing is I have made sure that my code from in app dot can we write auth router? I'm not sure about that, Hariharan. I'm not sure about that syntax. Uh, then why we remove sign up route sign up routes? We didn't remove from app.js. We removed sign up routes from app.js because we wanted to add it to a proper. So basically the idea is all the routes should be at the proper place. Otherwise our app.js file will start looking bad. If we keep on adding routes here only, then our sign up app will start looking bad because you will have routes for tickets, you will have routes for authentication, you will have routes for user activity. All that will come here. Then it's not a good idea to keep everything in your uh, how to write, in your app.js. You don't want to keep all the routes. You want to have router classes where you can do them. So you create a folder called routes. In that you can write down in how to write in proper way. This is how you write in proper way, Vivek. You create a file called this auth route, and it will contain two routes. One is this one, which is on sign up, and you will have another route, which is basically sign in. Sign in route will be this one. Aryan, can you put for so in this you have to write this post, and then you can write it as CRM API V1, or you can just do auth and sign in. And then once you write it, you can say that I'm going to use auth controllers sign in functionality. Okay. That's how you can write. That's the right way of that is the correct way of writing your routers. Okay. Why we pass app as parameter? Why do we write that in function? Why do we pass app as parameter? We are going to create a listener on the app. If you look here, we are creating a listener on the app. When I do app.post, I am creating a listener. For that list to create that listener, I am passing app. Okay. Why to write that in function? Because you are going to call that function. Okay. You're going to call this as this function. Then no need to use an app. Yeah. No. App dot uses. I'm not sure what that syntax does, so I'm not going to talk about it. Okay. So, anyways, this is how the router works. Vivek, are you clear about the router? Router thing, is that clear? Let me check. Just give me 1 second. What does express.use do? You set middleware for your application parameters path. It is the path for which the middleware function is being called. It is a string representing a path or pattern, regular expression. No, I don't want to read this. What is app.use? It's a middleware or chain of middlewares. Okay, this is basically what you want to do in between your apps. Yeah. So when things go through the middleware, it has to be done. I'm going to talk about how can we how to call this function. We can call this function by calling the exports. Look at, if you go back to this app.js, I'm writing an auth router as requiring this, which is basically getting that function. It is getting that function, and I'm sending it into the auth router. Okay, look at this. Use is basically going to define what some parameters or some middleware that we are going to use on our app. For example, when I do app.use express JSON, it means I'm going to have JSON format for my express request. Okay. This is where I connect to my DB. So I'm going to create it in a single line. And this is how my router is working. For using it, we need to declare something like sir. I got it now. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to discuss middleware in some time. Let me see. Auth controller. I'm talking about sign up. Not this one. Okay. Line 15 for calling function. Line 15 app.json. Yeah, line 15 is for calling function. That is correct. Let's begin the sign up. Yes. I hate this UI because every time there is a new message, something comes up and I'm not able to see the message. I don't know how to remedy that. Const router require express. What are we doing? I'm not getting. We are creating the sign in part of the auth controller, Vivek. How do you sign in? You know how we have sign up? We have a sign up functionality, Vivek. Now we are doing a sign in. Okay? You understand what sign in is? It is how people sign into your. We have to get the user ID and password, and we have to return a JWT token to the users. We will discuss that. So how do sign in works? First of all, you need to get the user from the request dot body dot user ID. Get the user from the user ID, and then what you need to do is const. Sorry. Dot log. What did Earth single set? User will pass the user ID. Yes, just like everything else, every other app that you have seen, it is login. Yes, sign in is login. What logic you are not getting, Vivek? I'm just writing how to get the user from the user module. Okay. We will not use email for logging in. We will use user ID. Anyways. Which logic are you not getting, Vivek? Routers. Routers is nothing but it's a file where I've defined what are my APIs. Think of it like this. I'll have, you see these two lines? You understand app.post and app.post? Okay. We have multiple such options. And this is the URL where when you hit on this URL, this function gets called. This is the router funda. When somebody calls on this URL auth.api CRM auth.api.signup, this function gets called. That's all the router is doing. And this is a single file where I contain all the routers for my sign up and authentication. Okay. Does that make sense, Vivek? When this localhost, then why you written in app.js routes? Because I was writing it before. I don't wanted to discuss all this in last class, so I wrote it in the app.js. Okay, because it takes some time to explain this concept. What is the error you are getting? 404 error. Check if your app is running. Show once app.js. Email password. No, we'll pass sign in. Will pass. We'll pass the password and the user ID. Will not pass email address. Here find search for user. Here find will search for user ID in DB. Yes, exactly, Niranjan. It is going to search for user ID. And, oh, okay. Let's go back to the code. I don't like this jump to latest functionality. It is corrupting the whole user interface. What if we use either user ID? You can code it up, Arathe. If you want, you can code it up. But I'm just going to code it up using user ID. Then you can just find it based on user ID. If you don't find, if the user ID is null, you can find it based on email. And then you can set email as the primary key for your database. And as well as you can create an index for email as well. Okay. Let's go back to the question. User. Sir, in the last class, we solved the user's password in plain text in DB. We saved, no, it's a class. Yeah, I should. Yeah, we have saved it as hash actually. We have not saved it as plain text. You see, I have created a hash here, bicrypt hash password. Or no, this is how I have saved it as a hashed value. Does that make sense? Or no? Anyways, let's go back to sir. How hash sync means inside 8 means? It means that this is my salt. It is a random seed that I'm sending. It's only known to me. Okay. Yes, sir. So it's like a random seed that I'm sending. This 8 here is a random seed. So it is salt that we call. This is required. This is optional, but it's a good idea to keep it. Yeah. And there will be a default value, but for security purposes, you want to use your own sort. No, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that password should be 8. It should be. It is a seed that is used in the hashing function. When you hash this password, you use this seed as inside the application as a parameter. Okay. So when you change the seed, the hash will change. It can be any value numeric. It can be any numeric value. Yes. Vivek has a doubt. Line 14 not getting. Pick this doubt. No, sorry. Answer this doubt. Stop sharing. What is the line number 14? Yeah, all it is saying is get the function from the required author. So I created a function. Do you see this function that I created, Vivek? Do you see this function that I have created? All it says is I'm going to require that function. This function I'm going to import into my app.js. And that function, this function, module.exports is a function. And all I do is I'm importing this function into my app.js. Does that make sense, Vivek? I created a function and imported it here. That's all I'm doing. Does that make sense? Oh yeah, sorry. Actually, I'm going to show it to you. Actually, I thought I'm sharing my screen. But anyways. So, why do we need user status and sign up? I'll discuss that in a few minutes. So anyways, Vivek, what is happening is in line number 14, I'm creating a function here in module.export. And what I'm doing is I'm importing that function here and calling that function. That's all I'm doing. Do you understand this part, Vivek? Okay. In sign up, why we need user status defined inside? We can also get user. Yeah, we didn't define user status. Uh, okay. The only thing why we have user status is because uh, uh, we all, because sometimes the people are sometimes when you have engineers and admin, when they have pending status, the admin comes up and approves it. So uh, once admin approves it, the status changes. So it's not always the case that user status is in sync with the user type. Okay, does that make sense? In the database, this value will change when the admin accepts the user. Does that make sense? Sasin. Does that make sense? Yeah, sure. Okay. Let's go back to the class. Sign up is this. Sign in. User is this. Output the user. If the user is null, if not user, if user is null or undefined or whatever, you can just say response.status as 200.send you can send a message says failed user ID does not exist. This is the first process. Okay, and then you can just return. This is the first process. Second is if user is there, but user status. User status. If user status is not same as now how do I get user status? Is constant. If it is not constant dot user status dot approved. If it is not an approved user, then what you can say is since the user is not approved, you don't allow him to sign in. Okay. Try catch. That will be a good idea. But if user is not present, then you will get an error. Okay. Sorry, if the user is not present, you will not get an error. You will get a null value. So you don't need to write try catch here. You need to write try catch when you are connecting to the DB. But if you are connected to the DB, then it should be fine. We can write as for that. User status is stored in DB. Yes, user status is stored in the DB. That is true, Archit. Okay. Every user document has a user status attached to it. Okay. So now if this is not approved, then you can do status. No. Status as 200 and send. You can write message as and allow login as user is in status. 200 means invalid request. The server is working fine, but the request is invalid. No, sir. 200. What does 200 means? No. Just give me 1 second. No, let me check what is status codes. STPP status codes. Successful responses, redirecting messages, okay, server errors, client error, information response. Yeah. So basically, what it means is, sorry for that misinformation. What it means is, it is a successful attempt. I was able to check the DB, but what we got is this user has not been approved yet, so you will not allow it. So we go ahead with success. Okay, 200 means success. Anyways, 500 is also 500 is when server error is there. Server error is 500. It's not a server error. Server is working. The only thing is that the user is anyways. You'll have user dot user status. One sec. On a login as a user is a status this. Whatever is the status you send that. And then again you can return. So far, so good. You must use 403. What is 403? 403. I think it should be 203. Let me check 403. Forbidden. That is a good idea. 403 is a good idea. Thanks, Likit. Yes, this is a client. Yes, 403 seems like a good idea. Yeah. Okay, I use 403. 403. I can return here. The next step would be variable password is valid. If the password is valid, we are again going to use bicrypt, compare, sync. This is synchronous compare because so the execution will stop here. Once the compare happens, then we move forward. And in this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send request.body send. After send, bracket is missing. Okay, sorry. So I have to write a bracket here and a bracket here as well. Thanks for that. Sir, after send missing bracket. Okay, thanks for that. Now let's talk about the password. If the password should match with the user password. So I send the password and I try to match it with user dot password. Okay. These two should match. And if password is invalid, if password is not valid, then I'm going to again respond with error. Status 401. Let's see what is 401. 401 is unauthorized, which means the client must authenticate itself to get the requested response. It means that the authorization failed. Okay, sir, you are using where? Am I using where? Oh, sorry for that. It should be let. Somehow there are so many things going on in my head, I forget about it. Okay, anyways, you'll just do let this, and then you'll do send, and you'll have access token as null. The message will be invalid password. So far, so good. Now comes the interesting part. Once you have seen that the user is present in the database, and you have seen that the user is present in the database, and you have seen that the password is correct, all you need to do is you need to define a token. Say the token is JWT.sign. And now let's define the token. What access token will do? Access token will just tell, access token is important part of the response that you are sending. People can use access token to authenticate themselves again. Just like this is like the ID card that you have. Okay. Is it JWT? Yeah, it is JWT only. Line 64 return. Line 64 return is correct. Yeah, line 64 return is correct. I don't see. For what? We want to come out of the function. We don't want to access. So what can happen is, suppose the user, if I don't return here, then I'll start checking the password. But the user is not present, so this will throw an error. Nayan, this will throw an error. So therefore, I don't work forward from there. Okay. So let me revise from the starting. I have found the user. I have seen if the user does not exist, I say error. If the user is not approved, I say it is not approved. Then I check the password. Once the password is invalid, I say password is invalid. Finally, if the password is valid, I create a JWT token. And to create the JWT token, all I do is ID colon user dot user ID. This is going to be my payload. All the time I should be knowing the user ID and config.secret. I should send my secret along with the JWT token. The secret is unique to me, and then expires in should be something like 56400. That means it is going to expire in 24 hours. Okay. That many seconds afterwards, the token will expire. So a user have to log in at least once a day. B can give 1 hour. Yeah, you can give 1 hour. So instead of invalid password, we can say invalid credentials. If you're not username, it will be confirmed. That is also possible, but the problem with that is if we are doing it twice, like that is something that front end can do. So front can say that failed user ID does not exist, or it can say user ID and password are different, not matching, something like that. That's for the front end to do. Okay, we can just send that this thing is invalid, or you can do it here also. That's not a problem. That's a design choice you can make. Okay, anyways, let's do the token thing. And the last thing that we need to do is result dot status. I have to send access token as null. You don't need to send it as 200. If you don't like, you can ignore it also. That's also possible. Yeah, that's just a choice you are making. It's a good idea to send it so that people know that it's an invalid password, so access token I'm not sending. But if you don't want to, that's also okay. Line number 80. What is line number 80? Line number 80 expires in 24 hours. It means that this token that I'm sending to you right now will expire in 24 hours. After that, you'll have to create another token. Does that make sense, Karan? Okay. Now the last part is once everything is fine, the username and password is matching. you can send the all the details back. You can say name is user.name, then you can say user ID. User ID is user.user ID, and I'll paste rest of the things. Just give me 1 second. Yeah. Email will be user.email, user type will be user.type, and user status, and you will send the access token as well. And this is how you will have the sign up API, sign in API. The sign in API will send you a token, and you are supposed to use that token across multiple calls to the server. Any questions on this? Or we can take a break, and after the break, we'll discuss all the doubts that you might be having. I'm going to push these changes into the GitHub so that you can get these changes. Added sign in controller session. Show this. Yeah. Okay. I've pushed the changes. Correct. Now take a break. Let's come back at sir, for sign in, we just need user ID and password. Yes, exactly. Those are the only two things we need. That is correct, Ekta. Uh, break till 9:35. Okay. I'll stop here. Hello students, welcome back to the class. Let's move forward to the next part of the class. Uh, mm, so why don't we start running the, why don't we try running our sign in functionality? We have just run our sign up functionality. Yes, sure. Uh, I'll just open the windows and I'll just do Control C here to run it again. Seems to be working fine. App.js working fine, sir. Do find one. Find one is also okay. Uh, find one seems like I'm not sharing the screen. Sorry for that. Sorry for that. I thought I'm sharing the screen. No, not shared. Okay, no worries. Now it is being shared. Who will accept the first admin? Yeah, first admin. I'll discuss that in a few minutes. So for first admin, I'll just write code in my init function itself. Yeah, I'll do that in a few minutes. But let's do it and let's do after this. So I'm running the app and then I go to this and I create a new call. And in this call, I'll have the same call functionality. This one. I'll have a post request and I'll save this. And in this, I'll send a body which contains JSON. And this should contain two things. First is the user ID. User ID. Let me check what was the user ID I sent previously. Anshul 009 and password is 12056. So user ID is colon Anshul 009 and password is 123,456. Now I try to send this request. Oh, sorry, this is sign up. So I should sign in now. And I send this. Did I do some? Did I mess it up? I said. User status is not coming as. Let me check. Sir, line number 60. What is the problem with line number 60? Oh, find one. Let me do that. Find one. So find this and save it. And try to send it again. Send one more time. No, it is not. That user status is causing the problem. Let me see what user status is, why user status is causing the problem, and I can check that by looking at, it should be capital S. Am I using capital S? In line number 60, user body, line number 60. Oh yeah, sorry. No, this should not be user body. That is not correct. No, not user body. Sign in user dot status. This is correct. No, that is not. That is not the case. It is saying that user is returned and it is approved. That should be fine. User. Let me do this one more time. Sign in. For Suppose I do this, save it here, and instead of approve, it would be pending. No, it won't be pending. That is not correct. If user status is not approved, then say that it is a problem. I'm thinking that there is, I think, no, fine. Let's see. Just give me a few seconds. Let me see here. Let me stop this and run the node app again. And this time I'm going to go back to Postman and come here and run this. Now it is working fine. Yeah. Once was that was causing the problem. Try once was causing the problem. Find one was causing the problem. Once I got it, it is working fine. Okay, it's running. It is running properly. Now we got this access token. Just remember this access token as we move forward. We are going to use it again and again. So before break, sign-in code is pushed, not pushed. Sign-in code is pushed, I guess. Did I not push it? Updated. Just give me 1 second. I have pushed the sign-in code. On the branch number 2, try to go to session 2 branch. Don't try to be on the same branch. Okay? If you are on the same branch, that is not going to work. Select the branch of session 2. Okay. Now we'll continue our discussion. Got it. Okay, Aradhya. I don't like this way of jump to latest is causing a lot of problem in my life. Anyways. Yes, for sure. Okay. Now what's next? Let me check. Just let me stop sharing. To back. Okay. So now there will be some options for doing user activity. Okay. You should be able to find a user by ID. You should be able to update a user, and you should be able to find all the users. Okay. And before going there, I want to talk about something that has been raised in the class, is how do you create the first admin? How do you create an admin initially? Okay. So for that, I'm going to write the code now. There is a function called as init function, which I will write in the app itself. This is a async function. So init. What this function does is let user equal to await user dot find. User is not defined, so I'll need a user. Let me define the user model. So I'm not able to sign in after previous user ID part. Did you do sign up before sign in, Nilanjan? You need to do sign up before. Try to check what is the error you are getting. Try to see in your DB if you have the same username present. Okay, what is the error? So are you sending engineer as the user type in the sign up? If you're sending engineer, that might not work right now. Try to send customer is the user. No, I'm giving admin. Admin will also not work. Give customer. For the timing, give customer. Don't give admin or engineer. Okay? Yeah. So first thing is to write the error code, which is find one, and here I'm going to send user ID. Sorry, I'll send user ID as admin. That's okay. If I'm not able to find an admin, I mean there will be a default expiry date calling. I don't know what is the default value saved, but there will be a default ID which will be there. So it will not run forever for sure. Maybe 1 minute or so will be default. I'm not sure. User will be admin. If user is there, try to find the admin. Console.log admin user already present. This is the first system and return. Else what you can do is try. If the admin is not present, then you insert the admin start at the start. Try to insert an admin. So what I'm going to do is user equal to await user dot create name will be unsure and user ID. Sir, user ID admin how? Because we are set, so it will make sense. Just give me a few minutes, Karan. I know you will understand what I'm doing. I'll have user ID as admin. And this will be my first admin that I create. It is going to be created, it will be hard coded in the code. Okay? I'll create admin. I'll have his email as admin at gmail.com. I'm coming to your question, Nilanjan. Just give me a few minutes. User type is admin. And password is bcrypt. I'll have to get bcrypt as well. First of all, did I get the user? No, I didn't get the user, so I have to do const user is equal to what is the user? It should be taken from model. Require dot models user model. Get the user and save this to the user. And bcrypt is also something I want, so I'll just do const bcrypt is equal to require bcrypt.js. In bcrypt, I'm coming to your dog name, and then just give me a few minutes. Bcrypt, I'm going to do bcrypt.hash sync and see. And here you can say welcome one. This is the password I'm saving. Const spelling. Oh, sorry. Thanks for the spelling error. Const, and the last thing would be user status. And this is the first admin that you create. So what you're going to do is constants dot user status dot approved. You're going to approve this. So okay. And if this is approved, what you can do is console.log user. Come here and write let. Else, what you're going to do is fetch the error, and you are going to do console.log error.message. So far, so good. So if there is no user, we are going to create one by ourselves at the start of the process. And this init function I'm going to call once I'm able to connect to my DB. So here, when I connect to my DB, I'll do two things. One is to console log it, and second is to call the init function. If the user is already present, then of course, that will not be a problem. But if user is not present, then we are going to create him. Very simple. That's how the first admin gets created. We'll see how others. Shouldn't it be user type in find one logic? Since user ID is a number, we are passing admin. User ID is a number, we are passing admin. Can you explain it again? Ekta, what I'm saying is admin is on, so user ID is going to be unique for everyone. There will be a unique user ID. And I'm using user ID as admin here when I'm saving. There's no user with user ID admin in my. Okay. So sorry. Nilanjan, find is returning array of users. So you need to use. Okay. Can I explain it again? I'll explain. Let me just open up the doubt that Nilanjan has asked. So Nilanjan, you have to insert the user before getting him. Okay? And you have to insert him as a customer. Don't insert it as a admin or something. Okay? Try to insert the user as a customer and it will work out. If you're inserting it as an admin, insert it as customer and approved. Then please show your code. And this user ID should be a string. It should not be a number. Okay? User ID should be a string. Yeah. Try to send a string instead of number. I am using find. Find one is a better option. Like it. Don't use find. Find one. Yes, Nilanjan, try to use find one instead of find. Here. Find is not correct. Okay. Those couple of things you will do, it will work out pretty well. Sir, user ID admin not getting. Yes, I'm going to explain that, Karan. Let me explain the whole logic from backwards. So what happens if there is no user? I'm going to create a user whose ID is admin. Okay? Okay, sorry. I'm going to share the screen. Because of this doubt, I was running here. Now I will open this. Yeah. So what I'm saying, Karan, is this user has the user ID admin. And this gets inserted at the inception. At the start of the whole process, at the genesis, this gets inserted. Okay, and if this user, and this is the user, first I'll find. As soon as I start my app, I'll try to find this user, which is admin. If I'm able to find it, it's okay. If I'm not able to find, I'm going to insert admin, and then rest of the things will work. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, yeah, that's okay. Now I'll run the code again. And nothing has changed, but it's just that admin will be inserted now. Admin user already present. It is saying admin user already present. I don't like that fact. If a user, I think there is already a user with admin. Let me check. Let me just console log the user as well. Save this and come here and control C this. Yes. Oh, Vishwa is inserted. Somehow Vishwa is inserted. I don't want to insert him. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, maybe my DB is corrupted. So let me check my DB. DB URL. Where is DB URL? Configs auth DB. Okay. So instead of DB name as DB, I'll use 2, DB2. Let me create a new database and use that here. So I'm going to save this and I'm going to come here and control C this and run the app again. And now the Anshul admin is created. The first time I ran it, it connected to that database and it has created me as the admin. Okay, this is a fresh database that I have created and I can work from it. Make sense so far? I'm inserting a user as soon as the database gets connected. Now, what all we have done? We have created how admin already created. Admin is not already created. Actually, previously I was running couple of versions of the same app. So one version was there which already created Vishwa as the admin. So this was an older code which created it. Okay. Yeah. We're trying to with sample. Yes, I was trying with some other data. I created a new DB and then it is working fine. Okay. Push the code. Okay, I'm going to push the code. Why is just give me 1 second. CRM added admin. Push the code. Let me go back to this and let me go back to this. Okay. So far, so good. So we have created sign in, sign up, and admin. So far, this much all we have. This is all we have done. Now let's move on to the next functionality, which is to work with user data. So we are going to work with this data in today's class and next class. And some of the things that I have discussed today are going to be helpful in tomorrow's class as well. We are going to write three more APIs. First is find all, second is find by ID, and third is update. We will be getting all the users. We are going to find a user by his ID and we are going to update the user. Those are the three things that we are going to do. So update will be basically called by the admin and admin should be able to update a particular user. Okay. There is some more there is some middleware that I'm not covering in the class. I don't think that is important, so I'm not going to cover. But you can have some middleware which is going to check your request when you are doing sign up request or sign in request. Okay. Yeah. So right now I'm just going to talk about the middleware that I'm going to create, and tomorrow it will init function will be auto called. Yes, it will be auto called. Likit. Every time you connect to the database here, db dot once open, you can call the init function. Does that make sense, Likit? Here. Okay. Yeah. Now we need two functions which are going to come under the middleware. So I'll just create a new file. No, not here. Escape from here. Go to, this is CRM app. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this one. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to write here 7th. This is building the CRM app. I don't want to do that. I want to work from this folder alone, because otherwise what will happen is since I'm creating multiple branches, everything will get corrupted. So I don't want to create another version of it inside the folder. You can just go to a particular branch and see which session you are at. Okay. So that should be fine. But I would rather want to rename my branches a little. So instead of session 1 and session 2, I want to rename the branch as session 1 authorization authentication. So session 1. In session 2, I'm going to rename it as JWT. So those are the two branches. And slowly and steadily, I'll keep on building more and more branches. Okay, you can take the code from these branches and then go to new folder. I don't want to do new folder, Suraj. For the next 4 session, I want to have a single folder instead of 4 multiple folders. And there's a reason for that, because otherwise it will be very difficult to deal with the code. Yeah. Let me think if that is going to work. Having multiple folders. Just let me think about that. Okay, so I'll drop this branch business and I'll just create folders, because that is making much more sense to me right now. Because that will be in sync with how we are conducting classes. So I want to know your opinion. Do you want branches, or do you want branches, or do you want this folders structure? I think folder will work better. Yes, let's do a poll. Is there option to poll? Yeah, poll is there. And okay, just it is correct. Folders are fine, sir. Yes. Okay, I'll create a folder then. So just give me 2 minutes. Let me set it up. So first thing I'll do is I'll go to my branch, and this branch I'll create pull request. Just give me 1 second. Let me merge the branches and create. Let me share. What? Yeah, I'm creating the folder structure. Am I audible? Yeah, I'm just creating the folder structure. I think I got disconnected. Sorry for that. I was just creating the folder structure and deleting my branches. Now I'm on the main branch, and this got created. Let me, what is this? JWT token. Let me just come to this in a few seconds. Okay, let me delete this first. I don't want this. Move to the recycle bin. So far, so good. No changes. Fetch online. Pull the origin. Once you pull origin, you should be at the right place to work. Once you have pulled it, what you're going to do is you're going to copy this folder and paste it again. Paste this folder and let's rename it to 7. Building the CRM app, JWT. I'm not able to write it. Come on. If this is not going to work, I'm going to do it from the folder structure. Delete. Move to recycle there. Okay, let me open the folder. What is the problem? Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to come to this folder. Okay, this is CRM app. User login. Now I open the folder. Let me bring it here. In this, I go to relevel. I go to CRM app. Where is CRM app? I go to CRM app. Inside this, I go to 6 and I copy this. And then I paste it. This is paste. Once I paste it, it will take 2 minutes, which is 18 MB of data, of a lot of data. Give it few minutes. Ideally, it should take like 10 seconds to do it, but anyways. Bigger file take less time, and there you have larger. And now what I'm going to do is come here and rename this file to be 7 building the CRM app JWT authentication, and then I'm going to write 23rd of December 2020. This is the folder that we are talking about today, 23rd of December. Okay, fine. I think this is the right thing to do. Sir, when are you creating folder? Video is gone. Okay. Yes. I did it with folder. Windows folder, Windows Explorer, I did it. Sorry for that video lag. Now I'm going to come here and create. I'm going to do created folder. Can you make our last classes now? I think it will be very difficult to create notes for this, Vivek. The problem is The code is the nodes. It will be very difficult to explain the nodes and create them. I don't know. I think what I can do probably is to write comments in the code so that you can understand that. Okay, that will be a good idea. I'll try to write some comments. Actually, the time in the class is also limited. We have to cover a lot of things in a very small time. Anyways, this is chapter 7. This is building the CRM. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to define 2 more folders. Let me see what is the time. One more folder is there, which is middlewares. And middlewares is going to tell us what happens between when you call uh, when you call that function and when you get an API call. Okay. So you can do auth JWT.js. Okay. Let's talk about this for a few seconds. So if I go back to the routers now, there is an auth router. There will be a similar router for my. Sir, can we? What is the difference between folder 6 and 7? The 6 folder is going to be for the user registration and user login. Nilanjan. Folder 7, we are going to discuss the rest of the story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start creating different folders for, just like previous classes I was creating folders. Now I'm creating these folders per class, and then as the class proceeds, we add our code into that folder, copy that code into the next folder, and so on and so forth. So that you don't have to do that branch business. Okay. Since we have never done the branch business, I don't want to do it just for this thing. So you can go across multiple folders and see what was the process that was taking place in the code. In this code, what we are going to do is we are going to talk about a middleware, which is auth layer. Now, folder 7 is for middlewares, yes, but it will contain all the code, but it is basically for the middleware, and that too a particular middleware, which is your JWT authentication middleware. Now, there are 2 functionalities that you need to have. First functionality is, there are only 2 basic functionalities that you need from this. First is you need a way to verify a token. Verify token. Given a token, you need a way to verify it. And we are going to use this again and again. You will have a request, you will have a response, and you will have a next. And this is the way middlewares are set up. A middleware takes care of what happens between the request and the response. It will make more sense in few minutes, or maybe attend the tomorrow's class to understand this fully, because tomorrow we are going to use this to create our. Tomorrow we are going to use this to create request out of it. Okay. Request.header, and there is something called as access. Get the token from the header of the file. The header of the file will contain a token. It is the same token that I have responded here. You see, when this request was successful, I got an access token. Now, whenever you want to access, this is like your ID card that helps you into getting into the building. Whenever you send a request, you need to send this token to me in the X header folder. There's something called as X. There's something called as key as. You can write a key as X access access token. There can be a key in the header which is X access token, and then you can send that token here, whatever you have copied in the previous way. And then this is going to be tested in the middleware. Middleware is going to test this access token and decide whether it is a correct access token or not. Okay. So anyways, that is the whole flow. Let me write the access token code right now, and then we'll discuss how that works out with the rest of the code. Okay. First you have the access token, and this access token. So next line. So have you seen that? Once you have the access token, you don't have to give the user ID ever. Access token is so once you have the ID card in your company, you don't have to tell your name at the front door. You can directly say whosoever looks at your ID card can know your name. Similarly, once you give the access token, this middleware is going to sit between. Just give me 1 second. So this is your client, and this is your server. Client is sending a request to the server. Server is running on Express. Express have saved the code for executing or doing the work on the request in the controller. And whatever request comes, Access has a router which is going to route it to the proper controller. You will have controller for everything, and router is going to route the request to the proper controller. Is that picture clear to you? You will have a user controller. You will have an authentication controller. You will have a JWT. You will have a user controller. You will have different kinds of controllers, and this router is going to send the request to the proper controller. Is this picture clear to you? So now, Vivek, is this picture clear? Okay. So now let's look at this diagram. You have a router whose job in the life is to route the request to the particular controller. But what it can do is, before sending it to the controller, it can have something called as middleware. It depends on the request, Vishal. In the request, based on the type of request, so basically request will contain clues about which router it is talking about. There will be a query, a URL, which will tell us what is the query is about. And then there will be parameters which are going to tell us where the request goes. For example, if I show you in the code, I have coded it up for the router. So if I show you in the code, here, so where is the router? Routers, auth router. So when the request is coming on this URL, localhost 3000 CRM API auth sign up, the request goes to this controller. Does that make sense? Hello? Okay, so that's how the router knows which controller it has to send the request to. But given a URL, the router can decide to pass the request through a middleware. And once the request is passed through the middleware, then it goes to the controller. You see how it is working? Pass it to the middleware, from the middleware, pass it to the controller. And what is the middleware going to do? In our case, suppose I send a JWT token. Now, this access token contains in encryption format the user ID. Every request, if you have set up the middleware, Nilanjan, if you have set up a middleware, then it will pass through the middleware. If you have not set up a middleware, I'll tell you how to set up a middleware. But if you have set up the middleware, it will pass through the middleware. Otherwise, it will not. Okay. So now, the JWT token contains the user ID. So first, what will happen is the router will send the URL to the middleware, and it will look at the JWT token. It will process the token, and if the token is valid, it is going to send you the user ID along with rest of the request. Okay. So the user will send a request, and the middleware will convert that JWT token into user ID. Does that make sense? And then it will go to the next step, which is the controller. Now I'm going to show you the code and it will become more clear, but just keep this picture in mind for a few minutes. Sir, middleware ones. It will make sense, Vivek. Just give it some time. Okay. So let me write one middleware and then I'll explain to you how it works. It takes a request, looks at the token in the request. If token is not provided, then it returns a response. In the response, it can return a response, which is the status 403 and send. So this is a middleware which is going to work on the token. I'll have message, no token provided. Simple. If token is not provided, I'll say no token provided. Otherwise, I'll have JWT.token. Sorry, I'll have to write it as JWT. Sorry, it should be equal JWT. I'll have to come here and say JWT.verify. I'll look at the token and I'll look at config, auth config dot secret. Okay. I look at my secret and I'll see if my secret is matching. This is the secret that you and me and this class knows. Nobody else knows. Any client does not know this secret. Anshul Yadav key. This secret nobody else know. And this secret is what I use to match my token. Okay. So I see my token, match it with my secret key. If I'm able to match it, if it is a valid, if it knows my secret key, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do error or decode it. And let me make it to the new line. Error and decoded. Bring it to some. Yeah. I don't want this to be here. Let me write it here. Decoded. If there is an error, if error, bring it to this line actually. I'm not sure. Let me save it. Yeah, this is fine. If error happens, then what we are going to do is return request response.status. So there will be some requests that can be returned by the middleware itself. Middleware say this is an invalid request and I don't want to process it. I can send. If there was an error, I can send message as unauthorized. Authorized. Okay. This is one way. If there is no error, then what you can do is you can basically do request dot back. Okay, this is okay. Request dot user ID. Actually, request dot body dot user ID. Request dot body dot user ID to be equal to decoded dot ID. Okay. I hope this is how I'm saving it. Just give me 1 second. So if I go to controllers and look at my controller for signing in, what is the JWT token? I'm sending ID. So ID is what I'm sending. You see, I'm sending an ID here, which is user ID. And when I come to my middleware, I'm decoding the ID. Okay. And then I can just do next. Very well. So now let me answer the questions that you might be having about the middleware. How does it work and what it does? And let me answer it with, just give me one more line to write and then it will become much more clearer. Line number 21 again. I'm going to explain the 21 line, but yeah, I'm going to explain this in a moment. But let me first write how does this gets called? Where does this get called? So I'm going to create some more routes, and this time I'm going to create not here. Routes. Inside routes, I'm going to create a new. Why am I creating here? Routes authentication. Create a new file inside routes, and let me have routes for user. User.routes.js. Okay. In user.routes.js, I'm going to create some routes, and let me create the first one. It's a simple route, which is module.export. Exports is equal to a function which takes an app. This is how you create a route. And inside this route, you are going to say app.get. And suppose somebody says he wants to get all the users, or CRM API users. I want to get all the users. Then I can define that I'll do auth JWT. I have to import this. Auth JWT is going to be require or middleware / auth JWT. Okay, so I'll have to do auth JWT, and then I'm going to do a user controller fill all find all. I'm going to define this auth find all. I'm going to discuss this now. So what is this line saying? Whenever there is a request from a user, first check. Whenever there is a request to get all the users, first check if the JWT token is correct. Okay, JWT dot verify token. Check if the token is correct. Once the token is correct, send it to find all. Okay. Now let me go back to. Just give me 1 second. User routes. Is this route making sense to you? Is this line making? Then I'll explain line number 20. But is this line making sense to you? Yes or no? No, I'm getting a request from this. I'm sending it to this link and then sending it here. Why? Because this is my middleware. Let me define the middleware more better. So here I have verify token, and then I can do module or export is equal to verify token. Verify token. This is one thing. Find all can be defined into control. That is true. That is true, Hariharan. You can define find all inside the middle, inside the controller. That is correct. But what you need to do is this verify token is going to be used again and again. Do you see that, Hariharan? You are going to use verify token again and again in your code. So you want to define it at one place, and whosoever wants to use it as a middleware. This is how you can structure your problem. What is find all? Find all we are going to define in the next class. Basically, a find all is going to return you all the users in your database. Okay, Vivek? So whenever you want to return the list of all the users, you can use find all. Typically, the admin will have rights over these operations. I'm going to discuss admin rights tomorrow, but today I'm going to discuss just JWT tokens. Vishal, is it making sense? Sir, go back to last page. Yes, sir. Okay, go back to last page. Which page? Can you write the name of it? You want to use user router? Yes. Okay. This is how you can write user router. Okay. Auth JWT find all. Line number 4. It says whosoever sends a request on API users first pass it through the JWT token, and if the JWT token, so what will happen is this user CRM API users is going to send you a token. Let's look at this like this. A request from on this link will have a JWT token. Controller.findAll means this is a function that I'll define tomorrow. This is a new controller that I'm going to write, which is the user controller, and it will contain a find all function. Okay, Vivek? This is a user, okay, auth. And what's auth JWT? Auth JWT is what we have defined just now. It is the, just give me 1 second. Auth JWT is the verify token that we have defined now. This takes the token and verifies it. Okay? Does that make sense? This is auth JWT, verify token. Ideally, I should send it as a, I should send it like this. Verify token, colon verify token, and save it like this. Now I can go to my router, user router, and say instead of JWT token, I can do JWT.verify token. So first I will verify my token. I will send a token. It will go to the verify token, which is going to convert it into user ID. And that user ID is going to go to the controller. And what I'll get is the response from the controller. Okay. Does that make sense? Vishal, Vivek, Ekta, Gauri, is it making sense to you? Gauri, you seem to be quiet today. Gauri? Yeah, okay, nice. So that's how you can define the verify token. There's one more function that you need to define, which is, so not everyone should be allowed to look at the list of, so we use user ID in JWT only. Yes, we use, we get the user ID from the JWT. We don't send the user ID. On a request, we are not going to send the user ID. On a request of this type, we are just going to send the JWT token. We are going to send the token and we don't worry about the user ID. So when you are on the, so yes, that is true. And that's what I want to discuss earlier. Only admin should be able to look at this. So we need one more way to verify if a given user is the admin or not. Okay, and that's another function that we need to write, which is admin. Is admin is our function, which is async, and I'll typically call it let is the admin, and this should also be. Should I use let? It will be a good idea to use let. Yeah. Save it. Async sync, async request, comma response, comma next. These are the three. Const is also a good idea. Const is also a good idea. So is admin. This takes three things: request, response, and next. Next is whatever is in the line. So after the given middleware, there can also be another middleware, or there can be the controller. Next is that. That callback is called as next. First is to user is equal to await user dot find one. Inside find one, I'm going to say user ID is request dot body dot user ID. Okay, get the user ID, and then all you want to do is if user is present and user dot user type is equal to constants, util constants dot user types dot admin. If the user is of admin type, then you can call the next layer, which is just next. Else, if it is not a admin, or if the user is not present, you can say response status. You can stop here. 403. Send a message as require admin role. So far, so good. And then you can return. You don't need to call the next layer. And you come here and you export. Okay, you can export as admin as well. Admin. There is a question. User model not imported. Yes, that's one thing I'm going to do. Is user model not imported? Oh, just give me 1 second. No. I'm going to do const user. Very good, Likit. You are able to find very good errors. Wire models / user model. Import the user model and send the request through these two IDs. And the final thing is to go back to the router, user router, and inside user router, you can write here after verification, go through authentication and check is admin. Okay. Once Postman cannot be done on this, Vivek, because we have not yet defined our user controller. Okay. So I have not defined user controller so far, so I cannot do Postman on this. Does that make sense? Okay. Find all is an inbuilt method. No, find all, take this first. Why did we take this first? Because I just wanted to, this is something different. This was in the class plan, so I wanted to discuss this. The other part is very similar to what we have done before. So I can use that in tomorrow's lecture. Today I just wanted to show this part. Can you pass one null per token just to see if the middleware works? Okay. Yeah, that will be a good idea. So let me save this and let me go to. First thing I'll have to do is I'll have to go to. Okay, just give me 1 second. I'll just write here a function that prints. We write a function. Request, comma response, and this just as a response dot post dot send. It will just return the request whatever comes in. Okay, I'm defining a simple function, and I'll save this. And can you show the is admin middleware after this? Yeah, I'll show that. Actually, I'm going to come here and do request dot body. Otherwise, it will be lots of blob. I'll save this, and I'll have to go to my app.js, and I'll have to structure that also, that router as well. So I'll just do. Why is this coming here? Const. Am I using it somewhere? Remove this. Am I using const somewhere? Here I'm using. So I should be defining it upstairs, somewhere here. I should do constants is equal to require dot configs, no, this slash constants. That is good. So we have defined this require an app router. Similarly, I can also do let user router is equal to require routes, user routes, and then I can just do auth user router and send that in. Okay, so now the user router should also be working. Now the next step would be to send an authentication token. Okay, so now I come to now I'll spend some time on Postman for some time, and let's see how it works. So first thing would be to stop this and cd dot dot /7 go here and do node app.js, and it is working. Admin has been present. Admin is already present. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as the admin, and the password for admin is, let me check. It is this admin's password. Admin's user ID is admin, and password is welcome1. Okay, so I'll go to Postman and I'll create a request which is /CRM API and here I'll have users as my request. Okay. In this users request, so first of all I'll have to get the other request. Sign in. First I'll have to sign in, and for sign in I'll have a body. Body will be raw with JSON, and the body will contain two things. First is the user ID, which is admin, and second will be password, which is welcome1. I'll have to put this also in quotes. This one in quotes. This one in quotes. So far, so if I just click on send, it will work. Is the error? Cannot get. Oh, this should be post. Yeah, post request. So I'll just post, and this gave me an access token. Now I'm going to copy this access token, and I'm going to create a new request, which is to get from CRM API users. Get the users list. And this time I don't have to send a body. All I need to do is I need to send a x-axis token here. So I just come here and I'll say x-axis token. And in this token, I'm going to send that string. I'll remove this part. Remove this part. This, and I'll remove the enter also. Seems to be correct. Yeah, seems to be correct. Now I'm going to get this and send it. Send request. Could not send request. What is the problem? CRM API user. Let me check. Let me check the routers. CRM API user. That is correct. Let me check the console log. And in request is coming, which is correct. Now what is the problem? Double quotes. Oh, maybe it should be in double quotes. Let me check. I'll just come here and write double quotes. I don't think. And number 3 in token maybe.